So, last week was Gamescom, and learning from our Summer Games Fest and E3 coverage, I stated it'll be easier to just have one write-up instead of multiple videos. With Chrome on the case, that was a mistake. So let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to A Few Bits of News. I'm TB Sliver, and today we're going over a few bits of news from the gaming industry and adjacent areas over the past week. So let's start this Gamescom week off with Microsoft and their Xbox showcase. The team opened strong with gameplay from Techland's Dying Light 2, showcasing a bit of the story, voice acting and factions to the game. I believe we covered more detail of the game in one of our videos, link found above. The game is due December 7th. Next up was an extended look at Microsoft Flight Sim, covering the next few updates for the game. September 7th sees the launch of World Update 6. This will cover the regions Germany, Austria and Switzerland, and the Junkers Ju-52 aircraft. In November, in partnership with the RARA, the Reno Air Racing Association, comes the famous STIHL National Championship Air Races, along with futuristic Velocity Air Taxi. Humble Games became the latest partner for the Xbox Game Pass with day one releases of Archvale, Next Space Rebels, Midnight Fight Express, Dodgeball Academia, Bushiden, Flynn Son of Crimson, Unpacking, Signalis, Unsight and Chinatown Detective Agency. Also Into the Pit, a retro RPS roguelite, was shown off, and that will also be day one release on Game Pass October 15th. Wastelands 3's next DLC, Holy Detonation, announced its release on October 5th, set in the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's meant to challenge players at level 16. I'm sorry to report there is no Stargate. Sea of Thieves got a Borderlands crossover event with the Mayhem-inspired ship design and quests. By the time this video goes out, you'll have a week left to finish them, as all this ends September 7th. State of Decay 2 gets its homecoming update September 1st, returning to Trumbull Valley with a revamped and expanded map. This is intended to round off some of the game's storylines. At the same time, Undead Labs announced the game has passed the milestone of 10 million lifetime players. Not bad. Crusader Kings 3 announced it's coming to Xbox. This was leaked sometime earlier, but there is still no date. From the creators of SteamWorld, we got another look at The Gunk, which is due in December. And finally, action RPG Strayblade was shown with a 2022 release. Forza Horizon 5 got its own controller, followed by its intro trailer and an 8-minute showcase of its cars. Apparently you can play the campaign without racing entirely. The bigger talking point was that cloud gaming is finally coming to the console platforms this holiday on all Xbox platforms. As long as you pay for the Ultimate Pass option, Microsoft boasts 100 plus games will be on the service, with them supporting up to 1080p and 60 FPS, matching those on PC, mobile and tablet, starting from the Insider Beta coming soon. Explaining further how this will work, Microsoft simply stated as long as the cloud icon is on that game's front page in the UI, it's playable the moment you hit launch. This includes Series X titles such as Microsoft Flight Simulator and The Medium being available for Xbox One users as long as you subscribe to the service, shaking up the entire notion of next-gen platforms. If this works as well as it should, this is finally that big step forward for cloud gaming overall. It's time for a celebration at Bungie. Last Tuesday saw the company take to the stage with a 30-minute showcase of not only Destiny, but Bungie as a whole as it enters its 30th year. To open up, Bungie started with the reveal of the Witch Queen expansion, which surprised little in the fact as its featured villain is that of Hive Queen Savathun, who up until now was hiding and pulling the strings from afar. What did surprise many is the fact we are heading into her seat of power, her throne world, which will feature as the expansion's new zone for the game. The knife twisted that bit further with the reveal Savathun will not be coming alone. Guarding her is something no one expected, Hive Guardians. She has taken the light, twisted it, and the players will need to take it back. As for the content itself, the story will feature a new legendary mode. This version of the storyline will feature harder hitting foes and more punishing content than its original state. Those enjoying Grandmaster Nightfall missions will probably enjoy this, as with risk comes its own reward. With these new challenges comes new weapons, and this expansion will give the players a new weapon type, glaives. Unlike swords, these weapons will be used in first person, and once swung can be fire a projectile. Basically, it's a gunblade. However, this weapon will not be found on any map, nor will it be a drop. Bungie introduced the expansion's main feature, weapon crafting. Although details were sparse, with weapon crafting, Bungie intends to fold the seasonal weapons into the system, allowing the players to create their own weapons as they see fit, so this may mark the end of god roll chasing. Atop of that, Bungie intends on folding older guns into the system, not limiting it to the current game. One final thing to note for the expansion, there will not be a new type of subclass, much like Beyond Light's Status. Instead, the devs will be turning to convert the older subclasses into the system used by Status, starting out the gate with Void. We will have to wait on the other subclasses at a later date. Turning back to current content, as we talked about last week, Krem was pretty much on the money with Season of the Lost. Marasov has returned and is taking back the Dreaming City in an effort to bring her people home. While the season is still in its early stages, a few major changes have already happened, mainly that of the addition of Battle Eye anti-cheat into the game, which is a mandatory install on first launch. Second, thanks to crossplay, depending on where you log in, be it Xbox, PlayStation or Steam, your ID there will become your Bungie ID. So if you haven't logged in for a while, just check your username before you do. Finally, Trials of Osiris, which Bungie calls the game's endgame PvP, has had an overhaul. Whereas the main combat remains the same, reward progression has changed. Players no longer need to win consistently outright to earn rewards, although going flawless will still be required to enter the Sanctum to open the chest for the best rewards. Matchmaking solo and duos will be added, and finally the biggest change. Going forward, Trials of Osiris itself will be inaccessible to those not owning the current expansion to the game. Now this is Beyond Light. In February, this will be Witch Queen. A small addition to this season on the Director is a timeline of events up until the current season since the launch of Destiny 2. Krem states it's handy for newer players to understand the story up until now, however he hopes there will be more added to this and a deeper dive into the lore. Season of the Lost will be a 6-month season, as Krem guessed last week, and will feature quite a meaty story cycle with 56 stages over the course of the season. However, Bungie considers this but a prologue for not only the start of the Witch Queen expansion, but for the final phase for this story arc they started and will end at its 10th year. Last year, when Bungie announced Beyond Light, they also announced with it the Witch Queen expansion and Lightfall expansion as a trilogy. That has now been extended to include the New Shape as its final expansion to the Light and Darkness saga. Bungie were quick to point out that Destiny will not end after the New Shape, and will continue past that. How? We don't know as of yet. In terms of what's beyond the expansion in Year 5's content next year, Bungie have given a picture of what to expect. With the season content, we will see at least 2 dungeons to venture in, and 1 raid for the whole player base. That's not all, as the team intends to extend raiding further, with legacy raids on a weekly rotation, giving players new options to gain the raid's loot, and promising at least 1 raid of dungeon every 3 months. We will hold them to that. We suspect more details will be available post-launch of the expansion. Bungie weren't over-delivering the news, as with their announcement of the 30th anniversary comes a celebration within Destiny. Unlocking in December, for a small fee of £22, is a new dungeon based on Destiny 1's infamous Loot Cave, and alongside a new quest line, in which completing the quest nets you, for the first time in Destiny 2, Destiny 1's Galahorn exotic rocket launcher, along with its catalyst and ornament. Within the package is the Thorn armor set and new weapons inspired by Bungie's past efforts, Bungie streetwear and marathon-themed ornament sets, exotic sparrow, exotic ships, emblems, shaders and emotes. Quite a lot of value in a small package if you're into the whole glam scene. With Season of the Lost already started, it's going to be quite the end of Year 4, which ends when the Witch Queen expansion releases on February 22nd, 2022, or 222222. Did someone fall asleep on the keyboard? Well, the opening event of Gamescom happened and Jeff Keighley took to the stage once again with Opening Night Live 2021. While there were lots of things to talk about, a lot of which we have covered before just with an update or a vague 2022 release, Krem has cut the fat off the 2-hour event and will be going over the new news we didn't know about. Before the show event started, we had the pre-show drop some exclusives. King of Fighters 14 has a February 17th, 2022 release across most platforms. Guacamelee devs Drinkbox Studios announced Nobody Saves the World, which has some bizarre cross-classing. Which one of the classes is an egg? Yes, an egg. This is due next year. Lara Croft's creator Toby Gard showed off his new game Dream Cycle, and finally Bus Simulator 21 is launching September 7th. Then we get to the main event, and it opens strong with a CGI trailer to the reboot of Saints Row, titled just as such, set in a new city with a new cast. The trailer didn't so much, and we got the fastest gameplay video in history, but reports of a press demo were positive, and it's due February 25th, 2022. Next up was Firaxis' next game. Yes, it's the Marvel XCOM that's been rumoured for months. It's titled Marvel Midnight Suns, and an interesting point to make, despite the protagonist being customisable, their design and story was developed with Marvel just for this game. Sadly, March 2022 is the only other information we have at the moment, as the gameplay demo isn't available until this week on September 1st. Missing from the Microsoft showcase but revealed here was Halo Infinite. We got shown the multiplayer story trailer to the game. Yes, the multiplayer will have seasonal content, with a story to pull you along. The single player story was still under wraps, but we did get a release date of December 8th, which would have been a surprise if Microsoft hadn't put the date on its store page earlier in the day. Oops. It's worth noting at this point, during the weekend, before Kotaku reported Halo Infinite will not be launching with co-op or the Forge in the Video Developers 343 released. Halo Infinite's head of creative Joseph Staten stated that co-op will be released on Season 2 of the game and Season 3 will get the Forge. Seeing as each season is 3 months, you're looking at March for co-op and June for the Forge. To finish up the Halo spot, to celebrate Halo's 20th anniversary will be a Halo-themed Elite controller and a themed Series X. Continuing on with opening night live, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge revealed April O'Neil as a playable character. Persona 5's Morgana is playable in the next Super Monkey Ball, and indie success Splitgate launched its Season 0 on that night. Krem notes that despite no details given outside of its trailer, he recommends you look up Cult of the Lamb. It's something. Continuing on, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga will launch in spring 2022. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is set for November 9th, and Battle Royale Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt is set for early access on Steam, September 7th. Bandai Namco has taken on the theme park builder called Park Beyond, coming 2022, and Sword and Sorcery devs' next game Jet: The Far Shore on October 5th to PlayStation and the Epic Store. Guerrilla Games had 2 announcements both tied to the Horizon series. First was that its second game, Horizon Forbidden West, has officially got a release of February 18, 2022. Second was that its first game, Horizon Zero Dawn, got a 60 FPS update for the PS5 version, out now. Fall Guys has another collab event, this time with Disney and Jungle Book, featuring Mowgli, Baloo and King Louie, with the King Louie event starting September 3rd through to the 12th. Major update to Valheim, Hearth and Home drops September 16th, and finally the martial arts game Sifu releases February 22nd, 2022. Of course, this wouldn't be a Jeff Keighley event without Death Stranding content, and the final game announcement was details on the PlayStation 5 exclusive Director's Cut. For starters, the trailer showed off Sam's new flight and hover jets, which Krem tells me the Dropped Frames crew, which at the time he was watching, responded to that was, and I quote, "F*** no." To aid Sam further will be the package launcher, which had been shown before. However, this also showed the landing side of the packages, which unfolds into a parachute you glide down to a set point. Those worried that the packages will be arriving Hermes style need not worry. Finally, the Buddy Bot is now an optional pet item, which will follow Sam carrying the deliveries for him. The bot can also carry Sam himself. Krem, having spent 110 hours in the game, echoes the drop frame sentiments with "new players got it easy." Added to the game are jump ramps, which you drive Sam's bike through, its exit point firing Sam across chasms, allowing Sam to perform tricks while in the air. Adding to Sam's gun collection is the Mazer gun, allowing Sam to stun from range, an alternative to the rope launcher. Added to Sam's rest areas is a gun range, with virtual missions that will have an online scoreboard attached to it. Sam is now able to revisit past boss battles too, and a handful of new songs have been added to the track list. Yay, more things to be DMCA'd with! Finally, a racetrack will be added, again with its own leaderboard, and new action-packed delivery missions will be added to the game, with hints of its own story to go with it. From the trailers, it's very Metal Gear Solid inspired. And that's it for opening night live, and that's it for this week. Wait, there's more? Just how busy was this week? Just a small update on last week's Pokémon Go story, in which we reported that due to New Zealand's state in the pandemic, Niantic generously kept the distance of 80 metres for interaction with Pokestops and gyms, planning to change it back to the normal distance of 40 metres for the rest of the world come September 1st, resulting in a rather large backlash. Well, in a tweet, Niantic have flip-flopped on that yet again, stating that they have listened to the voices of the community, and come September 1st, 80 metres is now the base distance of the game going forward. Sometimes using logic to get what you want works. Speaking of distances, MMO spreadsheet space sim EVE Online has extended its EVE Anywhere program beta. EVE Anywhere, which started its beta exclusively to US players back in March, allows players to play EVE Online itself via most common browsers via their cloud platform at 1080p 60. This was a success, with 50,000 stream sessions over 30,000 accounts during its time, and now the devs are extending that to 22 countries in the EU. For a full list, check our links down below. All that is required is being in a valid location and an Omega clone, which is their subscribed character system. Now you can AFK mine on the go, which may be cheaper than having your PC left on 6 to 8 hours a day. Its anniversaries are plenty, as Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn enters its 8th year, and its Rising event already underway. However, earlier last week saw another update to the status of the Final Fantasy XIV servers. If you remember in a previous video, developer Team 3 head Naoki Yoshida was suffering from success over the wave of new players buying out the game's digital stock and packing the servers full to bursting. In the update post, after last week's patch, 5.58, Yoshida stated that the EU servers will be on a new operating system configuration, increasing the server cap further and to be ready for a hardware update to the servers in September. He notes despite the capacity issues and long queue times, which he again states he's sorry for, the servers are still holding together. However, the same cannot be said for the US side, as the Aether data center would be locked down, preventing new players from creating characters until further notice, as that data center had been at capacity for some time now, with players continually trying to create characters still. While Yoshida points to the Primal and Crystal data centers as alternatives, at the same time noting that these are also at capacity, he was sincerely apologetic over the state of the data centers. Yoshida concluded with an update over the worldwide implementation of new data centers. Due to the spike in Japan with the pandemic and new travel restrictions, this has slowed down their timetable, as they cannot do on-site work on the servers. How this will impact the Oceanic server release is unknown, and Krem says it's likely at the release of Endwalker, players will be expecting a Rahuban Savage event. I have no idea what that means, but I've been told it's bad. The party continues on with Guild Wars 2's Festival of the Four Winds, starting tomorrow just after its own 9th birthday. With that, ArenaNet laid out its own plans for the rest of the year, leading up to the End of Dragons expansion. As already discussed in our other videos, the game enters its second week of offering Living World Season 4 content for free. If you missed the first week, I'm sorry it's going to cost you again, but it's your own fault for not watching our content. Krem's just writing plug show shill at this point. Anyway, the update also reconfirms the dates of the Elite Spec betas, except the final week of November 30th will now feature all the Elite Specs of End of Dragons to try, and that sweet Siege Turtle mount during that period. The update also confirms that the Icebrood saga will be given away for free, unlocking chapters weekly October 19th through November 30th. Also, Season 4 is getting a new set of meta achievements and rewards, one of which is the Fragment of Prismatic Light, which apparently will be traded for one of the 3rd generation legendary precursor weapons coming in End of Dragons. On the World v World front, backend server infrastructure is implemented tomorrow, leading into the World v World restructuring feature, also known as Alliances, going beta starting September 24th for a week, which is bringing big changes to how that content will be balanced going forward, and quite possibly how the game servers are used as a whole. Before that, the DirectX 11 beta starts September 21st. With the Mad King Winter's Day and the new Lunar Year events rounding out the content offerings before February, it's going to be a very busy time for me to try and catch up to Krem and Lucian, ready for the expansion, which I may have already paid for. Today's release list is a short one because Gamescom coverage took up most of the releases, so this week is just a highlight of the bigger things not covered already. Casually announced in the middle of Gamescom is the release of the formerly Switch exclusive Bravely Default 2, coming to PC September 2nd. This turns-based sequel to the beloved 3DS title gets its time to shine on a new platform. On the same day, another semi-sequel is due, that of Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous on PC. Following up to the wildly successful Pathfinder Kingmaker, but set quite a while after, Wrath of the Righteous puts the characters in a world overrun by demons, and it's up to them to fight in a crusade against them. But will it be for better or for woe? Krem notes that a familiar voice is part of the character selection, and that a very familiar name is part of the credits. Wave at it as it goes past. And that's it for this week's A Few Bits of News. Tune in next Monday for more news across the gaming industry, and as always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, as well as hit that bell to get notified of the next video. If you'd like to chat with us live, then come join me every Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday evening over on Twitch, link in the description. Otherwise, we'll see you below in the comments.